afternoon, everybody. How is everything? Enjoying the conference? Yes, not the conference, the in-person conference, right? So thanks for attending our sustainability talk, and thanks for JSpring for making this happen after crazy years. So that's my first talk, in-person, international talk after pandemic. And my name is Vinny, and I've been working as developer advocate at AWS for the last 40 years, but I'm working as a software developer the last 25 years, more than 15 dedicated to Java, and 10 years dedicated to IoT, so I love IoT devices and the architecture for IoT, and Java on IoT as well. So feel free to reach me on my email, Twitter, or LinkedIn, or if you plan to visit Brazil, which is my country, just drop me a line, and I can show you beautiful places and very good food there as well. We are very committed with sustainability, and I'm very proud having this dream team, including Gosling, who was coincidentally addressing this T-shirt during our last meeting. The meaning, I will try, is hulstakking voor het klimaat. Yeah, that's right. Can I update my LinkedIn? That I can deliver talks in Dutch? Or just kidding. So, yeah, we have Adrian. He used to be our VP for open source, and he moved to sustainability, and we have a big team thinking how we can save energy and take care about the pollution. We are going to start discussing the sustainability transformation, and then moving to cloud and Java topics, finishing with topics beyond and some takeaways that we are preparing for you. So we have an increasing demand for power consumption in data centers in the last decades, and as more and more businesses are being launched, and we need to worry about it. The message here is, do not waste energy resources in your data center or in the cloud or even in your house. And since we are talking about Greencode, we also could call this talk as vegan architectures. So, sustainability transformation. We have increasing demands for sustainability from customers, pressure from customers, pressure from government regulations, and also investors are looking forward more and more to invest in sustainable business. So we can look at sustainability as a competitive positioning as well. But different from digital transformation that happens in months or years, sustainability can take decades to happen. And we need to set the right goals for short-term and long-term outcomes and how we can do this in practice. So basically, we want to identify sustainable use cases, move them to the cloud, and then optimize it. So that's the basic process of making a sustainable architecture. And any real cloud provider, I'm here working for AWS, but many of my messages can be applied to any other cloud provider. So I'm not trying to sell anything, just using AWS as an example. So any cloud provider will be more sustainable, and it's not different at AWS. So we really take care about it. And if you are working with AWS, you know, since the beginning, we have this shared responsibility for security, where AWS is responsible for security of the cloud, and our customers are responsible for security in the cloud. So the same thing, we can apply the same concept for shared responsibility for sustainability. We design buildings, rooms, servers, processors, And we take care from the construction to recycling. We purchase energy, we ensure that the energy and other resources like water for cooling are used efficiently. And our service teams, they run managed services and optimize them for sustainability. So you as a customer, as customers, you are responsible making architectural decisions, selecting and using services where your code is running and how efficient it is. And how to measure the carbon footprint. So we have the Greengrass house protocol. I think that it is the most famous protocol to measure emissions in 3 scopes: fuel, purchased energy, and also the carbon emitted by your business chain, including the suppliers and your customers. So as basic goals, we want to maximize the utilization of the resources, doing a better software, and choosing the right resources for our workloads. At the same time, we eliminate or minimize idle resources, data processing, storage, unused assets in the cloud. So in other words, do less work, store less stuff, work more efficiently, and use sustainable scheduling strategies. So cloud sustainability. Over the last few years, we published the 5 pillars in the well-architected framework. It contains best practices for operation excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, and cost optimization, which is very related to sustainability. And these all help support the business need for fast time to value for features and delivery of products from our customers. So, however, we have new problems. We notice that the ocean is rising, we have the climate crisis affecting our business, and we need to think about sustainability. So, we want to deliver not just products, but we want to deliver sustainable products. So we announced last year during our last reInvent the sustainability as the 6th pillar for AWS well-architected framework to meet this need. It enhances the framework to provide a way for you to consistently measure architectures against best practices. And so we provide the best practices for sustainability from region selection, user behavior, architecture patterns, data and hardware patterns, and also the development and the deployment process that you are going to use. We are going to discuss some of these best practices here. So now we have sustainability as an official non-functional requirement for software development. And it's kind of complex since you need to keep thinking about compute, data transfer, storage, and others. At the same time, you think about the response time, cost, availability, and all the other non-functional requirements. So you may think about moving your workloads for a more sustainable region in your cloud provider, but you may expend more carbon doing data transfer by moving your workload. So the sustainability requirement is very related with all the other requirements. But by the end of the day, we want to understand the environment impact of the used services, we want to quantify, and we want to apply best practices to reduce it. The improvement process is not different from doing digital transformation and improving customer experience. We need to identify targets for improvement, evaluate, plan, test, validate, deploy, measure the results, and if it succeeds, you are going to replicate the success to other workloads in production. And sustainability, as I said, is very friendly to cost pillar, and performance efficiency. If you are saving money in the cloud and you are running faster your code, you are doing a more sustainable architecture as well. But we don't need to optimize every single used resource. You need to worry about big workloads first, because you may expend more carbon thinking about refactoring than saving the resources in the end of the day. So don't worry about small things. Try to keep your mind on big workloads and big improvement opportunities that you have. Fail fast, fail cheaper. For doing that, process automation, CI/CD, and infrastructure as code is mandatory. So let's see a problem from a cloud provider perspective, and this is a real one from AWS. And we need to work together to avoid this kind of peaks. So we have the provisioned capacity, and we have the average usage, and some peaks. So if we reduce the peaks, we can reduce the provisioned capacity in our data center, and it will be more sustainable. But what is this? One example is that many of our customers, I think that it came from 80s or 90s, because we used to run cron tab at midnight for some reason. We believe that is a magic time to run cron tab. And it happened often in our customers at AWS. So we have many customers using the same clock-driven process, driving up the total AWS capacity needed. So sometimes we need to provision a bigger capacity just because of the peaks. So you can think about varying. You can vary your scheduling times using offsets, or even using random times, scheduling times. So we avoid round numbers like midnight. And optimizing log storage, that's a big problem for Amazon.com. They changed the algorithm from zip to Z standard, and reduced the logs in 1 exabyte. So that's a small change in production. It's just changing a library for compression, and a big impact in the carbon, in the emitted carbon, and the used energy. So let's consider to use more efficient libraries for JSON processing. If you have massive JSONs and big JSON files and to consume, you can look at the cndjson.org and Z-standard for compression. They are much more efficient, and as I said, small change, big impact. So another easy move that you can do is moving your workloads to more sustainable regions. At AWS, we have 5 regions that we buy energy to compensate the non-renewable energy that we are using. So here in Europe, it's very sustainable. Europe is, I think, that is the best territory for sustainable data centers. We are going pretty well. In US, it's not that good as Europe, but we have a good roadmap for the US. But here you have Frankfurt and Ireland that are very sustainable, since we are buying the energy credits to cover the other energy that we are using there. Optimizing the workloads. If you are using EC2 instances, it's very hard for our customers, because we have like much more than 100 options of EC2 instances to choose. And sometimes you choose one and you are winning with that one, but we launch a much better one for you, and you don't have time to research this kind of thing. So, but take a look. If you are a heavy user of EC2 or in your cloud provider you have many virtual servers, take a look at least once per year if you have a better option of instance to run your workload. And at AWS, you can run your workload in our edge network. We have local zones. Local zones are smaller data centers near from our customers with very low latency, very good for broadcasting videos, streaming, and things like that. We have the wavelength that runs on 5G network operators that also very good for gaming and very single millisecond digit latency. So that's very good for a fast response. And if you want to have your local data center integrated with AWS, you can buy AWS Outposts and have a hybrid environment between the on-premises with a unified console management. And
why is it better than, why is it more sustainable than the optimized bigger regions?
Running on Outposts?
Yes.
Yeah, Outpost is a hardware designed by AWS. You are going to use the same hardware that we are using in our data centers, and we really think about sustainability when we design the hardware. So you will take the same advantage from our data centers, you know?
Is it more sustainable to use edge networks than the bigger?
Outposts is an exception, like if you have like Volkswagen Industrial Cloud, and they have many plants that they want to have local processing and everything. So they want to integrate with AWS, and they don't want to think about buying sustainable hardware or things like that. So in this point of view, is more sustainable, but every time I think that running everything in the cloud would be much more sustainable. But we have this exception, and we are helping our customers to use the same hardware as we are using. So, and if you are using IoT devices, you can use Greengrass. Greengrass is a solution that you can install in your device, and you can download a piece of your cloud workload to your device. You can download functions, you can download containers, you can download AI/ML stuff to your local device and process locally using like solar energy in your device or things like. You don't need to have the communication with internet all the time, and this device can be very low energy consumption. And then Greengrass is a very nice piece of software written in Java and led by James Gosling. The new version of Greengrass was led by James Gosling. He did the refactor for the version 2, and it's all written in Java. But you can run Node.js, you can run Python, you can run Java on your edge device. And I'm doing that. I have my old Volkswagen van, and I'm using Greengrass to deploy some code. So it's a Node car, not so sustainable. And I'm monitoring the engine so I can calculate how much carbon I am emitting based on RPM, speed, and engine temperature. So since this is not very sustainable vehicle, I used to ride my bikes to compensate that. So we also, we are working very hard in the last 40 years developing our own ARM processor, and Graviton provides the best performance per watt than any other EC2 instance. So Graviton is a very big thing, and if you are using Java on Lambdas, for example, it's just a matter of one click. You just choose ARM64 instead of Intel one, and then you are running on ARMs. and then you are saving a lot of energy, and then you are saving a lot of money, a lot of money. You can have up to 50% less in your bill in the end of the month. So very easy to move your Lambda code to an ARM processor and then use Graviton for doing that. Same for storage, and we have the S3 at AWS, so you can investigate in your cloud provider the different types of storage that you have. So for us, at AWS, using S3, you have the cold storage that you take more time to restore the data, but you pay less for storing that. And we will take care to store in more sustainable data centers this kind of data, since it doesn't matter for you if it takes longer to restore the data. So moving the data from the hot storage to cold storage is another very good best practice. And we also know many customers that they are not aware about this. So it's not just around AWS. Check with your cloud provider the different types of storage that you have there. So, and also, I think that it's one of the hardest part is we are calling as cloud hygiene. That is eliminate unused assets in the cloud. So we have many big customers with multiple accounts and many developers doing proof of concepts, and they it's very common to forget some workloads running there. And then I would like to invite Julio to talk about this project that he's working on, the Cloud Janitor, which is open source and Java project for eliminate unused assets.
Thank you, Vinny. I'll be really quick to not damage the recording too much. This is a new open source project. It's similar to other projects like AWS Nuke and other things that clean up your AWS account. But it's a Quarkus project built from scratch in Java, and a great opportunity for anybody wanting to have a better experience using AWS, or perhaps learning Java and looking for a new project. And yeah, join us. Thank you, Vinny.
Okay. So Cloud Janitor, if you want to collaborate, just keep in touch with Julio. Julio is based in Spain, leading the Caravana Cloud, helping many developers to succeed in their career, including me. So, legacy and Java. I'm doing Java the last 20 years, 15 to 20 years, and I still have some JBossSim projects in production, and it's very hard to migrate. It's very hard to migrate. And then what you can do, you can try to move from virtual servers to containers. That's a big step. And then from containers to serverless, including using serverless containers services. And I used to call this pack the old and deploy as gold. That's the best thing you can do for your legacy if it's very hard to migrate and you need to rewrite many lines of code. So having your legacy as a container will be easy to move from one place to another. So that's the great part. And again, infrastructure as code is mandatory for legacy, because you want to try different options, and then you don't want to be in the console navigating the console is not sustainable. You can do it like once to test the service and to check something that went wrong, but CDK, Cloud Development Kit at AWS, is our kit, and then you can do in Java your code infrastructure for infrastructure. So you have your Java code for your business, you have your Java code to put your project in production. So all in Java. And we can avoid the YAML hell. Yeah. So that's nice. And for sure, modern apps with microservices, serverless, and DevOps, they are the answer. And if you are already using microservices, serverless, DevOps, cloud, and everything, congrats, you are very sustainable already. And so to finish the cloud topics, last year we introduced the carbon footprint console that you can access in your billing console to see how much carbon you are emitting by using AWS services. So now let's go to some Java topics for sustainability. We recently published this article to discuss Rust as a programming language for sustainability. And as you can see, we have this benchmark between different programming languages, and Java went pretty well on energy consumption compared to C#, compared to Python, JavaScript, Ruby. And also Java is easier to take advantages from like ARM processors, running and moving workloads from virtual servers to containers, from containers to serverless. So I really enjoy this flexibility on Java. But choosing the JVM these days is kind of hard. We have a very big fragmentation on JVM and many different options, and we have experimental resources in some JVMs that you cannot find in another JVMs. And I just love this website, Chris, who codes, that you can filter the type of JVM, and you can look, you have a big list of the resources implemented on that JVM. So that's a nice tool to help you to choose the JVM you want to run in production. I don't need to say that personally, I'm using Amazon Coredo the last years because it's open source, reliable, production ready, not because I work for AWS, but every time I try to download JDK from Oracle website, I'm scared. Like, it looks like I'm traveling 20 years in the time, you know, so the website is scary. I cannot trust the website at all. So
they updated the website a few weeks ago, I think, so it should be better now.
Yeah, okay.
A better alternative would be to use SDK man.
SDK man. Yeah, we are using that. SDK man, thanks. We are using, I didn't include this tip because it's not too much sustainability, but SDK man, if you are not using, is amazing. It's like a NPM for Java, so you can install everything with a single command, 3-4 commands, and your environment is ready to go. So SDK man is amazing, thanks. And so Amazon Coredo is optimized for Graviton and other ARM processors, and it has some James Gosling spices. Since Gosling is working the last 5 years at AWS as distinguished engineer, and it's amazing. He's very accessible, and we used to do like meetings together once per month, and it's amazing how he's humble even after everything he did for Java. And so, we have a very nice roadmap for Coredo and specific features for containers and also for dealing with legacy Java, especially the version number 8. So that I think that massive part of the legacy runs on Java 8. So we are worried and working. So many good announcements to come this year. And so for low-level optimization, like if you are doing providing some services for a large amount of customers, like you are doing the New Relic product, and then you really need to optimize in the very low level to take advantage from the JVM. You can think about the garbage collectors for sure. And you have the serial, the parallel, the G1, that they are very old in the market, but Epsilon is a new one that actually doesn't collect anything. Very good if you are running a JVM, doing the process, and destroying the JVM at the end. So you don't need to spend time collecting garbage. So you may consider, it's experimental, but you may consider this to your project. For me, it's kind of new, I'm still studying. And we published this project called Hypothesis, which can help on your research to check for benchmark and latency running different types of GC garbage collectors. So you can check. This is a GitHub project with all the code included that will simulate a very busy memory, and then you can try different garbage collectors and see which one fits better for your project. Well, Java Enterprise, Java EE, I did a lot, J2EE, entity beans, and I think that Java EE is not allowed anymore for new projects. You can keep using for your legacy. You may try to migrate, but you should avoid Java EE and the application servers. And yeah, I worked with iPlanet, and you spend 2 days preparing all the environment and everything. So I'm falling in love with the new Java generation, like Quarkus, GraalVM, Spring Boot. I think that in Europe, most of our customers that I'm talking with, they are using our Spring Boot or Quarkus. Some of them Microno and GraalVM native. So, but I personally fall in love with Quarkus since it can help us to deploy the same piece of code in different cloud providers with different types of architectures. You can run everything in your local machine very easily. You can use Gitpod, for example. Anyone using Gitpod here? Yeah, Gitpod. Yeah, Gitpod. I will show Gitpod in the end of my talk. It's amazing. But I think that, like we used to say that you need a Java container, a Java EE container. Now the Docker container is the container itself, and it can run Java or anything else. And you can run Quarkus, you can run Spring Boot there. And it's amazing how easy it is to, with a single command, mvn, Quarkus dev, and then you have your environment ready to go and very fast. And you can redeploy everything without restarting your environment. So I really like Quarkus. Logging. Sometimes logging can consume a lot of resources. You can fight against logging and garbage collectors and blocking I/O, and you can have complex situations. And one thing that you can do, you can use, for example, JMX with the unified JVM log, and then you can change the amount of log you are generating in runtime. So if you are facing a difficult situation with GC, for example, you may want to increase in runtime the amount of log, temporarily, the amount of log you are generating about this problem. And then once you solve it, or once you capture the log that you need, you can move it again to generate less logging. So logging is something that can be dynamic as well. We also published some months ago this study case. We are discussing the usage of asynchronous logging feature that we had on the Amazon Coredo. And this study case shows how using asynchronous logging can avoid extended GC pauses due to input and output operations. It's a very technical article written by the guy who is writing our JVM compiler. So he's a kind of Jedi developer. And this article is very good and very deep on technical side. Code review. Once again, we have many different options in the market for optimizing your code automatically. Amazon Code Guru uses more than 10 years of AI ML training to review the Amazon.com code. Amazon.com is one of the biggest Java users. And then they started doing code review using artificial intelligence 10 years ago. And they created this trained model. And I think that 2 or 3 years ago, we announced Code Guru for our customers, that we share this intelligence with our customers to find expensive lines of code. It can find secrets, hard coded in your code. It can help you in many different situations. But it's just one option. I'm not saying that, oh, try Code Guru. Use any automated code review to help in your process. At AWS, we have the concept that you build it, you run it. So you need to run the thing that you build, you need to monitor, you need to improve the performance. So we have the Code Guru to help on that. And we have DevOps Guru as well to help on the CI/CD process, also using artificial intelligence for doing this kind of review. And it's very simple to connect, to point your GitHub repo. You just open a new review on the dashboard, and you connect to your GitHub account, point to your GitHub repo, and ask for doing the review. And then you have the results here. As you can see, we are writing a project together, Julia and I. And we have 0 recommendations, which is pretty good. So beyond Java and cloud, you may want to optimize your front end as well. We are very happy to have Starbucks as our customer, since they are very committed with sustainability since the beginning. They started selling coffees, and then they started with the idea of reusable cup, and then now selling cups is a big part of Starbucks business. So it's amazing to see how they are worrying about sustainability, including they want to know how much carbon they emit on their website each time they have a visitor on their website. So they are using this tool called websitecarbon.com that you can use to measure it. And you will find many other tools to measure this kind of thing. And also for front end, JavaScript libraries can be a big enemy for sustainability. Big enemy. And as an example, we launched the version 3 of our JavaScript SDK to run in the browser. And we introduced the modular package per service client. And we reduced a lot the bundle size around the globe. So the internet consumption around the globe by using a different type and modular JavaScript library is much lower than before this version. So that's another thing, not related to Java, but we always are involved with the front end somehow. So here we go. If you want to have a green development machine, you may want to check the gitpod.io. That's IDE, online IDE, and amazing online IDE. At AWS, we have Cloud9 as well, but I don't recommend. You can go straight to to Gitpod, and it's very simple. You have your GitHub repo, you open the Gitpod, point to your GitHub repo, it will download, it will prepare a virtual machine for you based on a Docker image that you can customize. You can have startup commands to run before you start developing. And then you have a complete machine. It's crazy. A complete machine. So if you run the project here in the terminal, like run the Quarkus project here, it will expose the HTTP ports for you, and you can access these ports on Gitpod server. So it's everything there. And then why it's a green development machine? Julio is working all the week here just using his iPad and doing very complex piece of software. So you don't need a big gaming machine to develop your Java code anymore. And yeah, that's good. That's good for vacation. And you say to your family, no, I'm not bringing my computer, my laptop. And then you bring your iPad and you can keep working during your vacation. So some links and takeaways. We are working together, Julio and I and the community, to build an application called PigBank. PigBank is the kind of the J2E pet store, but to manage your expenses and accounts. So much better, because I don't know developers that own a pet shop, but I know many developers that have problem with managing your money. So that's a better solution. And it's a kind of reference application for modern Java. We are using Quarkus, SDK-man, and many other tools to database migration. And we have multiple deployment models. You can run locally in your machine. You can use virtual machine. You can use container. You can use serverless on the same piece of code. So we just have a project, a Maven project for your API, and then different Maven projects to deploy this API in different types of architectures. So that's the idea. The application itself is quite simple, but the code for infrastructure is more complex. So you can use as a reference to deploy your projects with different architecture models. And it's also has sustainability as a non-functional requirement. So here I have, let me see if my, okay, timeout. So the repo, I'm going to share the repo with you. We work in progress, still working on that, but as you can see, we have the PigBank API. Oops, sorry, thanks. Ah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, yeah, perfect. So we have the PigBank API, the PigBank API Lambda to deploy as Lambda, some code for Cloud Development Kit, some code to deploy on Amazon ECS, code to deploy to Fargate, some proof of concept with Vadim. And so we have, we are doing a blog posts. It's called Cooking with Alexa. And so you can follow my Medium blog post here. We are teaching step by step how to create this modern app using Quarkus, Java 17, MySQL, Docker, and other tools. And why is called Cooking with Alexa? It's because when Maven is downloading the whole internet for you, we have a short video, because I love to cook, and then let me show you here. We have SDK-man, and then and you type the Maven command, and then here it's loading. I have a video, and Alexa and we are teaching how to do a sunomono salad from scratch, and then you can wait for Maven to finish the command and learn a new recipe, which is a good, the best usage of your time. So, and I also, since that's the URL, I'm going to share the slides with the conference organizers, and I also put all the links that I show you about the other blog posts and other sources of information for having a more sustainable architecture. So I think that I run out of the time. Thanks a lot.